this one, Freddy Fazbear goes to heaven in the end. Yes, thank goodness Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy had all affirmed their faith in Jesus Christ before they died, or we'd have a real problem on our hands. Yes, in Five Nights at Freddy's, God is real, but before he sends the angel of death to collect redeemed souls, he kinda lets them vibe for a little bit and suffer immortal rage inside of a bear robot. When the subliminal "it's me" message pops up in the first game, that's actually God. Yes, Golden Freddy was a Christophany all along. God is good, and yet he allows Balloon Boy to exist at the end of a very long leash. Freddy Fazbear is going to heaven, and William Afton is going to hell. Not because he killed children, but because, and say it with me, Springtrap was never baptized! I liked this movie. Hi, I'm Jett, and typically on this channel, I pretend to make videos about toys so I can stealth propagandize for nuance and meaning. But this time, I'm just gonna talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the game, the movie. Cause this film is fascinating. People hate it. People love it. It's got money spraying out of every single orifice in its face, and it's not good. From a traditional lens. But why should we use a traditional lens? Is FNAF a traditional franchise? Should it be held to the higher standard of traditional cinema, or the sad, crusty, lower standard of things that make us happy? We tend to moralize art. Art that's effective through some techniques is better art than art that's effective through other techniques. That's been the case since the very first FNAF game. It's not real horror, you see. It's not good horror, you see. It's just jump scares. FNAF 2 isn't a real movie, you see. It's not a good movie, you see. It's just nostalgia, fan service, dare I say, fan-SLOP. Indeed, I watched the film and I had a great time. I saw flaws, I had my little nitpicks, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. And yet, for some reason, I'm still inclined to stand here and say, yeah, it was fun, but it was bad. Why? By what metric is it bad if I had a great time? What do we even mean by bad? The idea of objective technical analysis is very real and can be worthwhile. Yes, at the end of the day, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, everything is subjective, yada yada yada. That's not the argument that I want to make in this video. It's too easy. It's a thought-terminating concept which only becomes useful when conversations have reached an impasse and objects are about to get thrown at heads. Yes, Descartes, no truth can ever be known with 100% certainty, but if that's where you go in conversation right away, you can cogito ergo somewhere else far away from me. Sometimes when we talk about movies, you're trying to have a conversation about technical quality, they're trying to have a conversation about personal taste, and when those two goals get mixed up, objects get thrown at heads. So let me be clear, this video is primarily about technical quality. Specifically, a trait of FNAF 2's quality that most critics tend to write off completely, and have been doing so for decades. FNAF 2 is a shining example of this technique taken to its absolute extreme. It gets a lot of stuff wrong, but it gets this specific element so right that I dare say the movie is objectively good from a certain point of view. I'm gonna rapid fire some of what's technically bad about the movie without defending or explaining every single point, because that's not what this video is for, and there's probably a billion other videos that accomplish that exact same thing. You'll have to take my word for it. This is stuff that typically makes a film into a miserable failure with few exceptions. Rapid fire! FNAF 2 is structurally busted. It spends way too long on setup, it fails to make interesting promises early on, and it throws in brand new characters and brand new elements well after the midpoint. That's bad. The acting and dialogue gets schlocky at times, but I'm not gonna whinge about schlock coming out of the schlock factory. There's some interesting character work, though none of it's particularly resolved, and disastrously, when Vanessa is at her breaking point, the most interesting character beat of the entire series so far, she gets possessed and then the movie ends. That's not promising for a sequel because, even though a turn to evil caused by an outside force can represent an internal conflict, it's a pulled punch that isn't actually as interesting as having a character decide to do bad things. I want a character to go through their worst moments while retaining agency, and she loses all of hers at the end. Overall, the movie falls off hard on tension towards the end, then cuts off abruptly. It isn't bad for a middle series movie to end unsatisfyingly. In fact, that's a good structure for a multi-installment series. I just think that the possession element is a far worse cliffhanger beat than lingering on Vanessa's face as she starts to crack. Also, the pseudo-happy resolution of the ghost kids going to heaven is bad for a middle film because it releases way too much tension before your darker acts, and if that's a fake out and the ghost kids are gonna come back and repossess some kind of new animatronics after this, it's poorly done. Okay, back to normal. The structural problems culminate in a film that's way shorter than the first one, yet feels way longer. Baseline, beginner writing mistakes are woven into the very fabric of the film. Not nitpicky CinemaSins type BS, but genuine issues with pacing, promises, and payoffs. The 3 Ps. And yet, I walked out of the theater with a huge stupid grin on my face. Why? What is this mysterious quality that makes this film work despite its shortcomings? It's 'cause I was sitting up and pointing at the screen every 5 seconds at Freddy's. How dare Scott Cawthon do this to audiences? How dare he force audiences to remember every single piece of iconography from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 by recreating them all in lavish, loving detail? Oh, what a hack! Oh, what a cheat! Oh, Scott, how dare you! Foundationally, FNAF 2 is a loosely connected chain of plot contrivances made to culminate in one glorious scene that more or less recreates the gameplay of FNAF 2. More so than the first movie even attempts to pull off. In fact, with everything the movie has to yada yada its way over to make this scene happen, I kinda wish it had lasted a little bit longer and taken its time to be more scary than it is. The whole movie could do with a bit more scare factor. Not that the game is very scary. It's mostly a chaotic panic attack nightmare with way too much going on, as is this film's script. Perhaps a really pro screenwriter could have done a cleaner job than Scott at making the contrivances leading up to the security room scene into, like, beats that are interesting on their own. The setup phase could be a lot more entertaining. But it's never gonna be a good filmmaking decision to add between 8 to 10 new antagonists with only a tenuous connection to the baddies of the first one. This is not the film you write if you're trying to come up with the best possible sequel to the first movie. This is the film you write if you really want to make the Muppets guys build every single model from your hyperactive first month of raising octuplets simulator.
The thing I'll say about Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is that we are giving fans more of what they wanted most. There is this whole new cadre of incredible animatronics, sets, and characters that are iconic with the game.
The film displays a stalwart dedication to shoehorning in literally everything from the second game, and more, to the detriment of nearly all other significant values. And again, it's not like it's completely bad at all times from a more standard technical perspective. It messes up a few key beats, but I like the Mike and Vanessa stuff a lot. The movie looks good, sounds good, and its events chain from one to the next with a broad semblance of reason. For the most part, it has its Chekhov's ducks in a row. And none of this is anything to write home about. This is amateur stuff that you basically have to do to have any semblance of quality at all. But you're gonna see a lot of people going too extreme and calling it the worst film they've ever seen, and that's pretty much always ridiculous. Oh. Ran out of battery. The film's most brutal failure of setup is with the Freddy mask and the idea that the animatronics have facial recognition software. That isn't like an established thing in universe. The movie just does it, and we're expected to roll with it like it's nothing at all. And I'm not sure why, seeing as the movie series has a built-in Chekhov's gun factory right there.
Hello? Hello, hello?
Just have Henry call the phone of the old security offices as soon as he knows where Mike has run off to. Have Henry explain how the wizards work. You can pull off any amount of dumb exposition in this series as long as you have someone on a phone explain it to a security guard. This movie has more promises than it has payoff. There's a little cat right here. That's great. This movie has more payoffs than it has promises, and typically that's bad, because promises are what make us excited for what's to come. They motivate us to pay attention so that when the payoffs finally happen, we all stand up and cheer, or we hang our heads and cry at the inevitability of the tragedy. This movie tries to pay things off without ever actually promising them, and somehow, improbably, it works. Most of the time. Hey, you're so sweet. I don't know this cat. Despite being completely unapproachable, structurally incoherent, and full of writing choices that would be absolutely baffling to anyone who doesn't know way too much about FNAF already, we do know too much about FNAF already. Scott knows we know too much about FNAF. I know that you know too much about FNAF, and that's why I didn't explain what I meant when I said phone guy just now. That's why I didn't explain what a Chekhov's gun is. 'Cause you aren't stupid. You clicked the video, and you bought the movie ticket. Do you think we all just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live, and I can't. Honestly, thank God it's full of fan service. 'Cause isn't that the point? I'm a fan, and I do like service. We aren't missing out on something huge, because it's not like the franchise oozes high art cinematic potential. It's Five Nights at Freddy's, man. Critics judge movies under the idea that every single movie should explain everything you need to know within the runtime of the movie, needing no outside knowledge, no pre-existing familiarity. Though they forgive sequels as long as they're congruous with the last entry, they still seem to judge that continuity as a necessary evil that should be relied on as little as possible. Yet every film relies on some extra-textual knowledge. When Spielberg was making Raiders of the Lost Ark, he knew that you know that Nazis are evil, and the movie doesn't work if you don't. If Indy had been fighting the newly made-up Bonkums gang the whole time, people would be quite fair to point out how underdeveloped the Bonkums' beliefs and motivations are. It can skip over necessary setup for what the deal is with the Nazis, 'cause you already get it. For that same reason, they had to make a whole show to explain why the Empire is evil, 'cause we seem to not know that anymore. We seem to not get it anymore about why empires and fascism is bad. So they made a show about it. Just how FNAF doesn't need to explain how a flashlight works or what heaven is, it doesn't need to explain how the withered animatronics work. We already know, Scott knows we know Scott knows we know, Scott knows we know, he knows we know, and we do. All texts are intertexts. That's unavoidable, and that's why FNAF 2 works. It uses fan service so effectively to make us feel payoffs that the text cannot be chuffed to spend screen time promising us. The question remains, is that a cheap and lame way to make a movie? Just how people said the games were cheap for relying on jump scares. And the other, even more important question is, where'd I get like 4 security cameras to film this video with? Reolink makes security products, and gosh darn it, they make good ones. They've been sponsoring me since the last FNAF video that I made, and thank goodness because I've had some time to sit with their products. I've been using the Reolink video doorbell, I've been using the Reolink TrackMix outdoor camera, but I want to focus on this camera, the Elite Floodlight outdoor camera, which is so panoramic, it can show me wherever I go. Wow, I'm gonna steal your stuff. Unlike the TrackMix, the Elite Floodlight needs to be wired to AC power because it needs a whole lot of juice so it can do this. 3,000 lumen floodlights are very useful because they might scare off evil beings that are trying to come to your home to kill you. Or they'll turn on when you get home late at night and you need to be able to see your keys. RealLink's cameras do pretty much everything automatically, because they are incredibly powerful and full of tools to customize when the floodlights come on, when the cameras come on, and when you get a notification to your phone. It knows when something is a car, an animal, a package, a person, and you can use its AI functions to search for specific clips without having to go dig through days and days of footage. If something does trigger the camera or the floodlights, you'll get a pop-up notification on your phone, so you can connect with the cameras and speak to strangers.
Hello?
Or deter them with your voice. Though the main feature that makes me accept this product is the ability to switch the color temperature of the floodlights from Walmart parking lot to warm and pleasant, depending on how uncomfortable you want to make people that are entering your property while you're asleep. The doorbell camera is also especially good. Seeing as I'm living in an apartment complex right now, this was something that I could easily install, and it is streamlined to just the features that I need. I'm not gonna explain how a doorbell camera works, cause you already get it thanks to your extra textual knowledge. Just know that I get a great sense of comfort from knowing exactly what's happening at my front door even when I'm not home, which is the case for all of RealLink's products. In FNAF, security cameras are used to scare you. But in real life, they're a source of calm, confident comfort in a strange world where truth is becoming less and less accessible. They're also just like, really freaking fun to play with. So check out the video doorbell and the Elite Floodlight Wi-Fi camera using the links in the description, because you can get 6% off of any product from the RealLink website with coupon code JETKUSO6. Or if you want to set up with floodlights and an auto-tracking camera, the TrackFlex Floodlight Cam is dropping on January 13th. Early birds can subscribe and get a hot 10% discount until January 12th with the link below. Or this QR code, which will take you to the website. Like I was saying, is it cheap and dumb and lame and bad and not real cinema for FNAF to rely so heavily on fan service? Without a doubt, it weakens the text for fresh-faced viewers. It weakens its legs as an evergreen artwork, and it dates the movie to a very specific cultural moment. Though in exchange, we get to sit up and point at the screen, laughing, grinning, feeling. One could argue that remembering is an ontologically lesser experience to being challenged by something new, and one would be a clown. Would Christmas be better if they only played new songs every single year? No, Michael Bublé hasn't earned that. This whole film is built to generate those specific emotions of familiarity, and not really any others. This is because Scott put way too many frickin' guys into FNAF 2, and he's doubling down on that choice while also trying to make it like a narrative with characters who are people, while the game is nothing but iconography, mystery, and scary gameplay. Hell, that's the whole series. If we can't shove in all of the stupid lore and see all of the icons, is it even FNAF 2? Are we ever gonna have another chance to see these characters realized as immaculate real-life costumes? I don't think so. And I want those things. I want them! The task of writing this film faithfully to the game is like trying to turn a really good high-end riding lawnmower into a boat. You've got about $20 you can use to buy new pieces, a few spare parts from your last project, but you have to use every part from the lawnmower. What's impressive is, they did build a boat. It's a crappy boat held together by gum and God, but it still sails, and the views from the water are spectacular. And you loved that little lawnmower, so you're pretty thrilled to make something new out of it. It is not a cheap filmmaking technique to expect audiences to have a certain amount of extra textual knowledge. Hey man, what's up? It removes one point of value, but it does add another. Then we as an audience go and act like that's lowbrow for some reason? Nuh-uh. I stake my claim right here. It's not just a valid filmmaking technique. I say that FNAF's use of extra textual expectation is a marker of quality. It's no more cheap than using the Dies Irae motif to evoke death. If Indiana Jones can kill Nazis without them having to explain the evils of Nazi ideology to us on screen, FNAF 2 can expect us to be excited when we meet Henry Emily. Actually, that's a great example. Henry, specifically, is a two-pronged attack of extra-textual knowledge. When Micah goes to meet with Charlotte's dad, we get a conversation with this big burly man that the cinematography seems to treat with a great deal of importance. The camera does not regard this guy as a random side character. So as a FNAF fan, I figured that this character was William Afton's business partner, who had designed the animatronics and whom stands at the center of the franchise's greatest dramatic beats. So I understood the weight of this character reveal regardless of what the film itself was doing. What I didn't catch was that the actor is Skeet Ulrich, who played Billy Loomis in Scream, the partner of Matthew Lillard's character who plays William Afton, who is Henry's partner in crime. My girlfriend didn't know about Henry's lore, but she did know about the terrible boys from Scream, so she easily understood that there must be some significant connection between the two characters. Because the extra-textual situation maps onto the story, it shortens the gap between seeing it and getting it. I don't think that's cheap. I think that's clever filmmaking. FNAF 2 is so dedicated to visual accuracy that two of the weakest elements of the film are the marionette possessing people, which is weird and works weird and looks weird and isn't from the games, and Michael Afton. They kind of act like it's a twist that he's William Afton's son, even though he acts like Michael and looks like Michael and he's sickly like Michael and he says his name is Michael. We need to accept that fan service is a technique that can be done well or done that guy's going so fast. We need to accept that fan service is a technique that can be done well or done poorly, and not some terrible vice that we all indulge in on occasion. The conversation needs to be, this fan service was bad because of X, Y, and Z, rather than this fan service was bad because it's fan service and fan service is bad. But even if that doesn't become standard practice within technical discourse, we still need to get over this weird prejudice we have with it on a personal level. Switching out of technical mode, I whole cloth reject the idea that the average audience member should watch a movie while pretending they are not the person who they are. We all watch films imagining we're sitting next to the dumbest possible man alive, who doesn't know jack about squat. No matter what we actually felt like watching it, if the imaginary idiot didn't get every single fan-servicey lore character reference in The Mandalorian Season 2, we have to couch our positive opinions behind some facade of intellectual objectivity. Oh, it was fun for me, but in reality, it's trash. Sorry, bud, you're reality. That's what critics are supposed to do, because critics are supposed to say whether they recommend the film to their audience. That lens has no place in personal enjoyment. We think it does because the internet has made us all into the world's smallest red-letter media hosts, thinking we have to justify our feelings against objective measures of criticism from inside a vacuum that doesn't exist, that we aren't in, that's making it harder to enjoy things. Not only is fan service a valid technique, it doesn't matter whether it's a valid technique or not. I want to be allowed to include nostalgia as a technique in analytical discussion. But that discussion is separate from whether or not I had a good time or felt something meaningful. You aren't turning your brain off by enjoying a film on its own terms in the context of what it is and who you are. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what every filmmaker wants you to do. Sometimes the feeling is bad. And you don't have to rationalize that as a sign of poor technical quality.
Couldn't get into it.
Explain yourself. What didn't you like about it?
It insists upon itself, Lois.
What?
It insists upon itself.
What does that even mean?
There's no need to intellectualize your experience and pretend it's a technical flaw. Technical analysis is not your responsibility as an audience member. First and foremost, your responsibility to the art that you engage in is to feel it and to try to find the value. Nothing can force you to feel something, so you have to use every tool at your disposal to get value from whatever piece of art you absorb. Because otherwise, you're wasting your own time. When I let myself feel FNAF 2 as a viewer, not as a critic, it's quite good, and it's exactly what I had hoped for. From a technical perspective, it's a lot weaker, but it still very effectively predicts what its audience already knows and make great use of those expectations. Meanwhile, on the game side, Secret of the Mimic, while standing on its own as its own text, while creating new iconography rather than utilizing the familiar, it doesn't really feel like anything. That's why I'm making another video about the FNAF game series and how they could make use of the lessons learned from this movie to make potentially the greatest FNAF game ever. It'll still be about the Mimic, and it'll bring home, I think, everything the Steel Wool series has been unwittingly setting up. Car will be in the corner when that video is uploaded, probably next month. One risks falling into placid complacency when we only ever engage with the familiar. When we never move forward, never make new things, never search for the novel, unfamiliar, difficult truths that push us to change. Should that mean that we can't enjoy what already is? Or better yet, to use what already is to create something new? Is it really bad writing to state your thesis only as a series of rhetorical questions without wrapping things up confidently, making the audience feel like things aren't quite finished yet and a sequel is absolutely necessary? Thanks for watching. This is Jett, and I'll see you next time. I love my patrons on patreon.com/JettKuso. They help me so much, especially my diamond patrons LUCID, LANA, CHOOKA, Baron, RAZU, RIONs. Less so, but still very much so, my Titan patrons, Sierra 107, Gusano, Banana Jones, Chell, Douglas, Fern, and HeartlineDai. My hyper patrons, Trouble, Mudorios, Orio, Forrest DC, Kevin Haji, Sam Caesar, James 70, Hateincarnate. They're all so cool, and I even got some brand new base patrons. Lim, Jonathan Corona. They all just joined. They're awesome, and you should be awesome too. Thanks, everyone.